She knew Rich. I wonder if she knew Rich Hewerman. He was one of the managers from the planetarium that had gone on to work at WashU. And of course, we had the St. Louis Astronomical Society meeting at WashU for a while. It used to meet at the Science Center, and then they moved it to having it at the physics department at WashU. And then they moved it down somewhere in Fenton, maybe, or Arnold, Missouri, and then it moved back. So, but it was an interesting place. We had teachers from the Defense Mapping Agency, which is now what, the geospatial blah 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 that they're building the new campus for. Yeah, those guys were there. So, yeah,
Charlie?
we had a lot of the teachers.
Charlie, I used to teach geography classes, and I had somebody in one of my classes that her dad worked for that. And so she'd always bring me like decommissioned maps and stuff that were no longer classified.
Yeah.
So I always used to have some pretty cool maps in my room.
Oh, they had some neat stuff. One of the guys there was involved with top secret stuff. And he told us about how he had set up a computer in his basement so he could do remote work. And he had basically copper screen surrounding his entire place where he worked and grounded. So that way there were no signals were ever getting out. He was very cognizant of whatever it was. He didn't say what he was working on, and we didn't ask. So, interesting. It was an interesting place, but those guys, they all got really good educations paid for by the government. But they had a couple of stinkers in there that would get their PhD from Yale. And then as soon as they got the ink was dry on that diploma, they'd say, adios, I'm off to make big bucks.
Yeah.
That used to just piss those people off royally. So.
Okay, guys, we're going to start the meeting, okay? Excuse me.
Sounds good.
John's here. He's our president. John's waving. Steve's our first vice president, excuse me. Steve will be talking about Apple Pay later this evening. Glenn is our second vice president. He's got a bunch of goodies. He just finished today, he said, for us this evening.
Literally.
Literally. Alan is our treasurer. He had a finger up there for a second. And I'm the secretary. I do the website. Let's see what's coming up. Excuse me. I still have a cold. It hasn't, I've had it for like 2 weeks. It just won't quite go away. Upcoming meetings. In May, we talked about casual gaming for iOS and iPad. And what we'd like to do is, like we've had people talk about their favorite apps in the past, we're hoping that if you have a game, any sort of game that you use or like to play, that you might share that with the group in the May meeting, whether it's on iOS or iPad. And we're not talking about, excuse me, a game that's, huge blown up thing, but casual gaming, that kind of, I think of Angry Birds, that came out years ago. That kind of thing.
Something you can sit down and play right away and play for 10 minutes and put it down.
Yeah, you just play on your phone or your iPad and have fun, keep your mind engaged for a while, then give up when you get tired of that. For June or July, probably July, Glenn has talked about doing custom watch faces because he has his fancy iWatch. Apple Watch, I should say, and it does custom watch faces, but he says it also works for other Apple Watches, so he'll talk about that probably in July, he said. For June, we hadn't talked specifically, but it's a ways away, so who knows. Let's see, membership rewards, I'm taking down
Ron,
tonight again, yes.
Well, June, we'll probably be talking about WWDC.
That's right. That's like early June. It'll be before our meeting. So luckily we'll be able to talk about everything that they presented, we hope, at our July meeting, excuse me, June meeting, which is like the 14th. Membership rewards. I'm writing down names as we sitting here right now. Put those in a bag like we do. In the June 14th meeting, we'll pull names at the end of the meeting and we'll give away 4 $100 Apple gift cards. Let's see what else.
That will be great because that's my birthday.
Oh, cool. Let's hope you-
And Donald Trump's birthday.
Oh,
And
wow.
and Boy George's birthday.
It's
That's
interesting.
an interesting
Interesting
trio
you know
there.
that, Charlie, but anyway, we'll hope for luck for you.
Yeah,
is
and my
exciting,
wedding
isn't it?
anniversary, so I'm not sure about this.
Let's see what else. So we're at the point is anybody have a question for the group or a tip they want to give anybody? Any questions for this expert panel?
Well, I'll just add that before anybody asks a question, because you mentioned birthdays. So my birthday is a week from Friday, and my son suggested to my wife that a great present for me would be a new PlayStation 5.
You got a smart little bugger there.
Spare no expense.
Oh my gosh.
So what was her reaction?
She just sort of looked at me and laughed. It's like, oh, is that what you'd really like for your birthday?
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Come on.
cool.
In all fairness, if we got one, I'd be spending a lot of time playing with him. So, you know,
Yeah, we figured.
It's a
those
bonding
game
experience.
systems are not cheap, though. I'll tell you what,
I know.
those
I
things are pretty
know.
expensive.
So any other question for the group?
I want to make a comment. This is not exactly related directly to Apple, but it does relate to cell phones. And some of us use our iPhones with T-Mobile plans. Well,
Uh-huh.
T-Mobile's changing the rules of their auto pay discount. They're going to require you use debit cards or bank account numbers and not credit card numbers to get the auto pay discount. Just wanted to mention that I think it's kind of an anti-consumer move that T-Mobile is making, especially when they have.
You know why they're doing it?
What?
Do you know why they're doing? Did they say why they're doing it?
Probably to
No, it's
save
not
them
clear why they're
$3 a
doing
month.
it. But they have a reputation for data breaches and careless security.
We're using them.
Yeah, I would rather give them my card rather than my account.
Oh, yeah. I got 4, or I'm paying for 4 phones for consumer cellular. I told Tom this the other day. 4 phones, it's unlimited data and text. It was $108 a month for all 4. It's a pretty good deal, I think. And I'm paying with a credit card. Until
Well,
maybe
I have a family plan and I had 6 phones for 120. And then they gave me 2 extra phone lines. You actually have 8 phones for 120 a month.
I've got
Okay.
on Verizon, I do 5 of them for 90. I think it's 92 a month.
Okay, we are getting a little off topic, guys. Any other questions out there?
Yes, somebody's
Tammy?
been posting on the GAMUG email list. I think their iMac was erased by some kind of virus.
Yeah,
Does
that was,
anybody know
yeah.
the details, what might have happened to this person? Or what
I
happened?
don't
to
know.
the
That was
computer?
Helen Friedman, I think. I don't really know what, she didn't have much detail of it either, so.
Well, it just sounds scary that somebody hacks your computer and just erases it. And that's happened on a Mac.
Well, that was Linda Tanner, and I don't recall her ever
Linda
saying
Tanner,
anything about any
okay.
kind of malware. It was
Well,
just,
and Linda, from the questions she's asked in the past, I'm not so sure she's very clear on what happened.
I got the impression that she had some service work done on the Mac, and when she got it back, it had been pretty much wiped clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, you mean, Steve, you mean like she took it to a shop or something and had somebody work on it?
That's the impression I got, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Now,
that-
her last email, she was having difficulty getting pictures from her phone onto her Mac.
Yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
one.
She tried emailing and different approaches. I suggested AirDrop, and I gave her a link with some easy instructions to follow, and I never did hear anything back from her if it worked.
Yeah, but I didn't understand about that is when I take a picture on my phone, I can go to my computer and it's already there. So they just link to
All
each
the
other.
sharing.
So I'm not sure
If you have-
why hers wasn't.
If you have an iCloud account with photos,
Yeah.
but
Or
some of our
you gotta
members
have
do
it
not have an
enabled.
iCloud account.
My wife was working on the Mac and she was doing something and her screen popped up with a you have been infected, blah, blah, blah. Here, please click on this link or call Apple support at this number. And she knew from all of my preaching over the years, she came and got me and I said, you didn't click anything. No, I said, all right, we'll just kill the power on this and we'll bring it back up. And of course, that website then became the home page for Safari. And I had to go around and erase
Oh
that
my gosh.
to get it. But I mean, it looked legit. It really did. But
Oh, yeah.
you know, oh yeah, just click here or call this number. I was tempted to call the number just to see if it, you know, if the people in Bangalore or the Philippines have got the accent right. But
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Recently, I've gotten like 2 or 3 times an email that looks very like it comes from Apple. And it says, my iCloud account has run out of space and you need
Oh,
to
yeah.
update it, whatever. And I always just ignore the thing, but then it helps if you look at who it's coming from. The address it's from is never an Apple address. It's some other weird address. And you know right away that that's not even a legit things, but never answer any of those things.
Yeah.
That's
Well, as I always tell people, I'm like, if you think that there even might be any legitimacy to it, don't do anything with that. Go separately to your account and look at your account and see if anything looks amiss. But
exactly.
never use the email. I've been being bombarded by Amazon ones like that about my account for the last couple months. So
I've even gotten one that said, you have $5,000 waiting for you if you click on this link.
Oh, yeah.
and supply some
Yeah, right.
information."
Give me
It's
a
like,
break.
yeah, exactly. But you know, think how many people would get that and probably go click on it and let's see what happens, you know? So,
my
No.
father,
And then their computers would get infected.
Yeah.
well, or who
Yeah.
knows what's going to happen to your computer.
Oh, yeah.
I think I get a call from my father maybe once every month or two, trying to figure out what's wrong with his computer. And I'm always like, what did you click on?
Yeah, exactly.
Inevitably he clicks on things and, you know, and then boom, there we are. And now I've got to figure out what the problem is. And but I do love, and I know Al and I use this all the time. I love the convenience of using messages on the Mac to be able to take control, to be able to share screens and take control of somebody else's computer remotely. It's just so easy to do. And that's what instead of trying to tell him what to do, I just, okay, let me share your screen and then I can just work with that. Because if I try to explain the steps to him, we never make much progress very quickly.
Well, at least we know we're on the same point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, any other question out there before we go on? Okay, one other thing for the group, is there anybody have a new piece of hardware or software that they want to give a review about?
Haven't bought anything.
I've got one piece of software, but I've got it in my goodies. So
Okay, well, then we're going to move on. I guess we're going to start with you, Glenn. What goodies do you have for us tonight?
well, as I said, I was scrambling to get this one done. I think Alan, when you called me earlier, that's what I was doing, trying to wolf a little food down right after I got home from practice and finish my goodies off there.
I
Yeah.
did get your file that you sent at 6:18 or something
Okay.
like that.
All right, great. So,
We'll get it straight
yeah,
yet.
once I'm knee deep in coaching track and field season, it's like my hair's on fire all the time. So trying to get anything done is like crazy.
Well,
So
there's
let me-
seasons past that you didn't show up at all, so we appreciate you coming.
Well, I'll have a little more time on my hands in 31 more days. So, all right, hold on. Well, hold on one second here. I'm having troubles finding. Trying to find my goodies here. My PowerPoint should be there, but Zoom doesn't want to seem to find it when I share my screen. There we go. Okay. All
got it.
right. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
You got something.
All right. We good? Y'all see it?
We got the
Yes.
title.
All right. That's what I need you to see. And we'll ignore that. All right. All right. So Glenn's goodies for April. You know, I by the way, I tried to come up with a better name and I haven't. And now that I've been doing this for like a year, it's just, I think, permanently stuck on this. All right. So the first thing that caught my eye, a couple news stories for you. The first one that caught my eye was, I don't know if anybody else saw this, but that Mac shipments from Apple have declined over 40%. And so as you can see here, their Mac computer shipments fell by 40.5% in the first quarter of 2023 compared to the previous year. And their worldwide market share of computers dropped about 1.5%. And a lot of that, in fact, all of the large manufacturers, all of their computer shipments are down. And a lot of that, you know, is attributed to COVID, because when we all went into lockdown, a lot of people bought computers because they were, you know, needed new hardware because everybody was trying to do more stuff online and, you know, this kind of stuff. And so, you know, a number of computer makers saw surges during that time that, you know, now it's obviously dropping off. So it makes sense. But according to this market, as they say, intelligence provider, IDC, they think it'll pick back up later in the year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
But Glenn, if everybody was dropping and Apple should have been dropping more than the others, I just don't understand that.
I think that they just sold a ton of them, Alan. I
Well,
think they
know,
were
but
selling
everybody did.
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, maybe it's just
I just think it's kind
Apple's
of
last
natural.
longer. Yeah.
Could also be that, you know, when they came out with the M1 chip, I think, you know, like this computer I bought, you know, my MacBook Pro, my M1 chip. Honestly, is it really worth me upgrading to the M2 version? I don't know. So could be a little of that as well. I think the M1 chips came out and everybody was really wowed by those. So people bought them and now they're not really in a rush to buy new computers. So that also might be a little of it.
Okay.
Glenn, is it possible that Scholastic, you know, purchases are possibly down because of, you know, they're not having to do so much, you know, people are going back to in-person school?
You know, even though we've gone back to in-person, so much more of, and it's not just our school, everybody, so much more of the curriculum is computer based now. But I'll tell you who really has cornered that market. It's all Chromebooks. Because, you know, schools can go and buy those things for really cheap.
They're cheap.
And frankly, they're I don't want to say they're indestructible, but I've literally seen kids throw them against the wall and not break. So, so they do a lot better than other stuff. And you know, so I think that's really where you see most schools going to is the Chromebooks. All right. The next thing I had was about, did you guys update to 16.41 this past week?
I think I did.
So that came out. And I don't know how many of you kind of were noticing a problem, but when 16.4 came out, a lot of people were really complaining about battery draining. And so, you know, and as you can see, I have here, Geekbench did a bunch of battery tests on 16.4 and really found that, you know, that 16.4 really had an impact on battery. And when you compared it to 16.31, like they showed here, a battery score for the iPhone 13 dropped 11%. The 12% went down 12%, your battery life. So there was something there, but unfortunately 16.41 really doesn't seem to fix the problem. And so people are a little disappointed about that, people are hoping that might be a fix. So no such luck there, but we will, I would say this, they do say in the article that they did see some minor improvements on some, others went down. But if you compare it to 16.31, it's still pretty down from there. So I would say this, if perhaps you haven't updated to 16.4 and you're still on 16.3, well, you're probably getting better battery life, but on the other hand, you know, there are security updates and all of these things that probably outweigh the battery thing. So that's kind of up to you to decide. All right. So the next thing I thought I'd talk about is spatial audio and Dolby Atmos, because something in our meeting last month clicked in my brain, and I thought there's somebody said that they didn't know what spatial audio was that Apple had come out with. And I thought, okay, well, you know, maybe it's worth kind of just delving into what these things are a little bit. I'm not going to go real deep into them or anything like that, but so let's start with what Dolby Atmos is. It's an audio format that music and video creators use to essentially make audio 3D sounding. And so what you can do if you've got the software for it, you can not only have the sound, but you can make it in different channels and make it sound like it's coming, you know, from different directions around you. And the idea behind that is to make it much more realistic and kind of immerse you in the sound a lot more than just sort of the old surround sound. And so you can actually, when you listen to Dolby Atmos, you can actually supposedly, I don't know how you delineate this, but you can supposedly hear audio from, well, you can do it up to 128 different channels and can be played in 34 separate speakers. Now, I don't know how your ear would actually be able to denote that, but you know, the software allows for all that. And also, if you have headphones that support Dolby Atmos, you can use sort of different mixing techniques that it can achieve the same effect, but using fewer speakers. And so, you know, it's kind of cool because you can kind of move, like if it's music, you can move different instruments kind of around the listener as you're listening to it, and you can change them and move them. So it almost feels like certain ones are taking precedence over another, you know, other instruments. And so that's kind of a screenshot of the software Dolby Atmos renderer. And so you can see down there, like there's a little 3D thing in the bottom right of that, and you can actually move it around to change where the music's coming from. So that's what Dolby Atmos does. Now, let me say this. Depending on the equipment you use, you may be able to hear, you know, Dolby Atmos, or you may not. Like on older surround sound systems, you can't hear it, even if you have multiple channels on that. But, you know, most of your newer TV sets, if you bought them in the last probably 5 years, computers, they all support the format. And all of the newer Apple devices also support that. And if you have AirPods Pro, well, that should say AirPods Max on there, then you'll be able to get Dolby Atmos. You can use some other headphones, but sometimes you have to toggle that on, and you can check on that by going to settings, music, and audio to toggle the Dolby Atmos on and off if it allows for it. So we have that. Now, what is spatial audio? So Apple introduced this in 2020. And so it's supposed to take advantage of the gyroscopes and the sensors in like different devices and the headphones to simulate 3D. And so what they're doing is that you don't have to have Dolby Atmos with it, but the idea is that it works with Dolby Atmos. And so what the idea of spatial audio is it's trying to give you like this spatial awareness. And so it's like, instead of having the sound that's in a kind of a fixed location, and that sounds weird, in your head, it's now fixed to the device it's coming from. And I've really, at first, when they first came out with this, I really was trying to hear it like in my AirPod Pros. And I was kind of having a little bit of trouble like getting it. And I'd be like turning my head and moving and doing things and walking and seeing if I notice a difference. But it's the idea that like, you know, so when you usually play like movie or music, you know, you'll hear the sound around you, but like if you turn your head, the front's going to sort of stay where you're looking. Where with spatial audio, it's sort of where the device is now, so it changes where it's coming from. And I know that's hard to explain, but maybe this little diagram I found shows it. So you can see the person's head there. And can you guys see the little nose on the head? It's just like a little thing sticking out of it there.
Yeah.
Or if you can't see that, look at the little gray things of the headphones. And so like spatial audio is supposed to be that, like, if I turn, like if somebody was talking, I'm still hearing it from like where they're coming from versus where my like headphones are. Does that make sense? The way I'm explaining that?
Yeah.
Have I confused you guys? I was
No.
trying to find a simple way to, I would say if you have a newer device, like of headphones, if you have newer headphones, try it and sort of turn your head and see if you notice where now it sounds like it's still coming from over here. So like if you guys see my theater screen back here, it's coming from there. Well, it's almost like if I turn my head in my headphones, it's still going to sound like it's from that direction. You have to play with it. And it's hard to explain this without you putting on some headphones and really experiencing it. But, you know, somebody had mentioned that last time. I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll just sort of mention what these two things are. So,
Glenn?
did I confuse you guys more with that?
No, but Glenn, were you able to get it to work so you could hear the difference?
I can, but at first I didn't feel like I was getting it, but now, and I think it also depends on what I'm listening to. Like there are some of the newer shows that on Apple TV Plus that I watch that I can definitely get it more than other stuff. So I think it really depends on how much attention they're paying to the sound and how they design it in the show. You know, and so it's something that it's some things I can better than others. That's the best way to say it. All right. So I thought I would get into just a little bit of Safari, some tips and tricks on iPhone, because I've seen a few articles lately, and I wasn't going to, I could probably do an entire, you know, goodies on just this, but I didn't want to get just that immersive. So I thought I would just come out with 3 or 4 that might be useful if you don't know them. So the first one is, I don't know if you guys know, but you can preview links before you click on them. So like, let's say you're reading an article and there's a link in the article. Well, if you click on it, it takes you out of the article, you know, and now you're in something else, you know, and then a lot of times if you want to go back, you know, it's just kind of a pain. Well, I didn't really want to go back, you know, see that. Now I got to go back. So here's how you can actually preview the link. So if you're reading an article and you see a link there, just long press on the link. And so in this picture I have here on the left, you're long pressing on that link. And then what'll happen is on the right, that will pop up there. And what you'll see is you'll kind of see what the article looks like. And there's a contextual menu, you know, that you can use, you know, to do different things with it. And then if you're like, oh yeah, I'm not interested, then you just, you know, tap anywhere or swipe down and that'll disappear. So that's just a little handy thing when you see links in an article to be able to do, just long press on that link and that will come up for you.
Glenn, does that work on a computer? Like if you just hold, you know, the mouse down on it or something?
I thought there was something, but now I don't remember. And if I wasn't presenting to you right now, I'd test that. So somebody can, if somebody wants to test
Yeah,
that, they can
I'll
let,
check it out the next time on a
okay.
website.
All right, the second thing, and this one I think people know about, but it's so simple and it's so easy that I had to mention about jumping to the top. You know, some of these pages you're on and you're just like scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. You want to go back. I've noticed people kind of scroll, 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 like going up and up and up. All you got to do is just tap on the top edge of the status bar, you know, up there where you see your Wi-Fi symbol and cell connection and battery. You know, just tap in there and boom, it'll just jump you right up to the top. Although, as I put in here, a disclaimer, if you have an iPhone 14 Pro or Pro Max, don't press on the dynamic island because now you're going to activate that instead of jumping to the top. So you have to avoid that. And by the way, just so you know, it's not just a Safari thing. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of apps in iOS that if you do that, it'll immediately just jump you right up to the top.
Cool.
So, it's a simple thing that's been around, but I don't know how many people actually use that. So I thought I would include it because I see that all the time where people are just, just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I'm like, well, there's a much faster way to do that. And, just bam, you're there.
That only goes on the going up, coming down, not the same.
What's that?
You can't jump down, probably.
No. Because generally speaking, everything starts from the top. So the idea is to get you back where you started from.
Yeah.
Even though we have our,
I've done it
address
accidentally,
bar
probably.
at the bottom. By the way, I don't know about you guys, but I love having my address bar window in Safari on the bottom of my page versus the top. So I don't know what you guys feel about it, but I think it's just much easier to work with than having it at the top of my screen.
I like having the address bar at the top of my screen.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, that's just
So-
me. You know,
Well, yeah, whatever your preference is, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a real simple, search that, if you want to find something on a page, there's a real simple search function. You want a number, word, phrase, whatever it is, you can easily do that. So if you scroll down to your address bar at the bottom or just get that to pop up, or in if anybody's case at the top, if it's up there, you're going to see the little icon. I've got it in that box there, the little, which we've all seen, the little square with the arrow coming up, like you're going to send something. So if you go down there to your address bar and you click on that, tap on that, you will get this little page come up. And now if you swipe up on the menu, you're going to see one of the options is find on a page. And by the way, as you can see, that once you get into that menu, there's a whole bunch of stuff, you can do there. But anyway, find on a page is right there. And then a keyboard will pop up and you can just type something in there. And you can see that I just, type something and then I found it on the page there. And then you've got those little arrows. I mean, it told me it was one of one, but if there's more, you have the little up and down arrows on the right of it, and you can just tap those to go through each instant of it on a page to advance. And so it's just a real simple way to do a find on a page. Maybe you're in a long article, you're looking for something in there. Hey, I saw that. I wonder where the heck that is. So, just go down by your address bar, tap on the little icon, the square with the arrow, it pops this contextual menu up, and then you can go from there. All right, number 4, reopen a closed tab. I'm sure that we all from time to time, whether you're on your computer or you're on your phone, you will close a tab and then you realize you really wanted that open. Well, there's actually a function to do that. And it's kind of nice that you don't have to go retype an address or search for something. So if you've got a screen open and you close, one of your tabs, again, go to the bottom by the address bar and you will see the little icon there of the squares overlapping, and click on that. And that'll show you all of your tabs in Safari. And then at the bottom there, there's a little plus button. Once you get to that, if you hold that icon, you will get a menu that pops up and it'll show you all of your recently closed tabs. Now, one thing that I will tell you that's odd about it, to me, this is kind of counterintuitive, but they start with your most recent at the bottom and go up. And I had to get used to that because I don't know about you guys, but naturally I would look at the top first and then go down, but it starts at the bottom. So if you want to find that again, it's just, you can see those, look in the red boxes there, the two little symbols, and then you'll be able to go back just and click the one and boom, it'll open up that tab again. All right, so those are just some Safari tips there for iOS. The next thing is, do any of you know that you can actually write notes in Apple Notes using your finger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Well,
pencil if you have a pad.
yeah. Well, this is, if you don't want to have to, sometimes when you bring up a note and then you're like, trying to type away with it. Yeah, if you just want to make a quick note, I don't find it that easy to write on a screen, but in your notes app, it has built-in tools for sketching or doodling or note-taking or whatever. So here's how you do it if you want to. So first thing is open notes, obviously, and you open a new note. And then you can see here at the bottom, you're going to tap on the little markup icon. It's a little circle with a pen icon in it. So you do that. And then the next thing you're going to do is, once you do that, you're going to get the little markup icons across the bottom. And then you're going to choose the pen or marker that you want to use. So, and if you selected a tool and then you tap it again, it brings up, like you can see here on this one, it brought up the thickness I want to write with or the opacity of it. And so you can do that. You can also choose what color you want. There's a little, if you guys can see, the second to the right icon on the bottom is a little color wheel down there. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
So you just click on that and then you will get this. And so you can either select one of their colors or you can use the sliders to select your own, whatever it is you want to use. You can create the color and then you can write your message. And so I just made it blue and away I went writing. Like I said, I don't find it very easy to write on there personally with a finger, but you can do it in notes. And bonus points if anybody can tell me where this message first appeared.
Insanely great.
So from a very famous keynote.
Sounds like a Steve Jobs.
Well, I would think John, our trivia expert, our trivia master, might come up with this.
Probably the iPhone. First one.
Good guess, but no. Sorry, sir, you lost the $50,000.
Yeah.
It was when the Macintosh was introduced and it scrolls across in big letters Macintosh, and then it gets on the screen and then you see the cursive writing insanely great beneath it. Since I had to come up with a message to write, I thought I would, come up with something, historic from Apple for you.
Careful, everybody. That'll be John's question for trivia this December.
Commit this to memory, guys. All right. So the next thing I was going to mention is the Files app. How many of you use the Files app in iOS? Does anybody use it?
Yeah.
Okay. I find it hugely useful. I use it all the time. Especially one of the times that I like when I'm out coaching all the time, I'm at the track and I'm like, oh, I need some information on something. And it's great because I can open the Files app and it will, like, things that are on my computer that have been shared through iCloud, it can pull up any of my files that are on my computer. And I find that really handy when I'm away from my computer and I need access to something. So iGeeks blog on their Twitter account recently had a cool little thread I saw about things you can do with files on your phone. And so I thought I'd share that with you. And by the way, if you have not used the Files app, check it out. As long as you've got an iCloud you're using your iCloud account, it's great because you can remotely pull up any software you want from your computer, and then you can access that stuff. And like I said, I use it all the time. So first thing you can do is scan documents. And I know these are slightly fuzzy because I was taking screenshots of these videos. I was actually screen recording of them. So I apologize for a little bit of fuzziness there. But basically you click up on the upper right and you open that little contextual menu, scan document, and it brings up the camera. And then you take a picture of what you want. And now it's created a scanned document for you.
Makes them a PDF, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I'll play that again for you. Just click up there in the menu, go third one down, you see a scan documents. You click on that, camera comes up, then you click on what you want. And yeah, as Alan said, it's now created a PDF of that for you. All right. The second thing, you can compress and unzip files using the app. So if you go into a folder and then you can go down, they just hit compress, and now you've got a little zipped file there. I know it did that quickly, so I'll play that again. You just click on it in the menu, go to compress, and boom, there it is. It's just made a zipped file that you have compressed now. So now if you want to send it or whatever, then you're able to do that. All right, the next one is using markup tools. Whoop, didn't mean to do that. So I can open something, a document, and then I go down to the bottom where it says markup. And now you can see the person writing on there. And then they're going to close it and they're going to go back and reopen it to show you it's still there. So now they have been able to mark that up. So I'll play that again for you guys. So you open some document in there and you go down to under quick actions to markup. And now you can make a note on it. Or if you want to use some other, you want to draw or highlight something, you could do that. The next one on the long press option. So if you long press on something, you get this nice contextual menu that you're able to do a lot of different little things in there. On your iOS devices and on your iPad, long press always brings up some interesting options of things, that you can do. So again, you're just long pressing on an icon and you get this menu. Using tags. So I don't know how many of you use tags. I use tags all the time on my computer to color code stuff. Just for organization's sake and things to get my attention. Well, you can do that and you can put tags on, documents just like you do on a Mac. So again, you have the file open, go down to tags, pick the color tag you want, and now you've got that in there tagged. You can also mark folders as favorites in there. So if you click on the folder, long click, I should say, and then you go down, and I'll play this again. So you're long clicking on the folder, opens up the menu, and you go down to favorite. And then then it's set now as a favorite. So when you go into files, it'll be in your files app, it'll be in your favorites menu on there. So if you haven't done so and you haven't played with the files app, I think it's great. I used to get kind of annoyed when I'd be out and I'd be on my phone and I'm like, oh, well, this is on my computer and I wish I had this, that I could, access this, and I can't. Well, again, as long as you have, iCloud, your iCloud account activated and you're sharing stuff, you can access, a lot of your stuff. So it's really a real useful app to use. All right. I thought this was really fun, so I thought I would share this with you. So this software engineer, Mahai Parparita, created this website, infinitemac.org, and you can boot up every single major release of Mac OS from the 1980s and 90s in your web browser, and they are fully functional. So like, this is what the the website looks like. And you can see here, like from 1984, 85. And so I made a little video of this here of just doing this, and I'll show it to you. So you can just scroll through this and you see all the different years, and it gives you, you know, the different systems that were released during that year. And it takes you all the way up to, I think it's 98, maybe, is that where it stops? I think I went all the way to the bottom. Nope, 2000, all the way up to 9.04. And so I just go back here and I just, you know, picked an oldie. So I went for system 3.2, and it'll open up, it's emulating a Mac, and it's functional. You know, I mean, you can scroll around and open things and open windows, you know, just like you would on a real Mac. And
Can
so
you
I'm
add files to the or virtual machine there?
I presume you can. Whether it would save it or not, that's another question, but because I don't know what happens when you leave that.
Oh, it's gone. I know that.
So that's a good question. But here you can see like games, like I open up this game, Battle Chess. So, you know, it's like, you know, a fully functional computer, which, you know, very nostalgic if, you know, you were a Mac person during this, you know, back in that era and you missed that stuff for whatever reason. Some of them, you know, that one was real small. Like you notice this one that I opened is definitely bigger. And so you can see here, like I'm opening Adobe Photoshop, which is at 3.05. And it's fully functional Adobe Photoshop. You know, I can, as you see, I'm opening a new document here. I had to get used to you. Nowadays, you just click and it stays open. Back then it didn't. And I forgot that it did that back then. I kept doing that. So I've got a window and I could, you know, do things. All the tools are on there and everything. So, so it's kind of cool if you want to check it out. Anyway, so this is, yeah, this was system 7 that I picked just for this one. And I was curious what would happen when I hit shutdown, and then I got an emulator error. So I just went backwards on my browser to go back out. So anyway, so if you're feeling nostalgic, go to, you know, infinitemac.org and you can play with any of these old systems. So I thought that would be a lot of fun. Oop, no, I already did that. All right. Now I said I had a new piece of software. I don't know if this would be useful to any of you, but it's certainly useful to me. And I think it's kind of a cool little piece of software, and it's SIP Color Picker. So I do a bunch of graphic design work. And so I'm always trying to figure out like what the color of something is or matching colors together. And so if you do any color work, this is real handy. And I was going to play with it, but then I found this little video of this woman talking about this. So I thought I would play this for you, and hopefully you will hear all this.
I am a
Well,
videos all about design and research. And today in this video, I'm going to walk.
Can you all hear that?
No, yeah.
not very well.
Very often.
I wonder if, I don't think I wonder if me turning up my computer makes any difference.
Right.
I don't know.
You through one of my favorite color picking tools, SIP. SIP is a really neat little color picking tool that I've talked about before, and it's a great way to collect, organize, and share your colors. And in late 2018, they released a whole new version of their app. And so I want to walk through some of the new features and how I'm using them to collect and organize my colors. If you haven't tried SIP before, you can download it today for free. I think they have a 14-day trial, and after that, you need to buy a license per device. So I have SIP installed on 2 of my devices, both my personal laptop at home and also my work laptop. So let's walk through a little bit how SIP works. When you first download SIP, you'll notice that it appears in the top of your toolbar on your Mac. So this means it's really, really readily and easily accessible. I have mine to automatically launch at login. So it's always there anytime I need it, which is super useful because I find myself always going up there to use the tool. Now, the main use case of SIP is to pick and organize your colors. So I use this very regularly when I find a cool color and I want to save it and find out what the hex code is. I've set myself up a handy little shortcut, Command P. And every time I press that shortcut, the SIP picker automatically comes up. And I can easily click and select any color that's on my screen. One really cool feature about SIP 2.0 is that I can hold down Shift and then select multiple colors. So that way, if there's a lot of colors on my screen that I want to save, I can just do Command P, hold down Shift, and you'll see as I'm picking here that it saves and stores all of those colors. I don't need to go and do them one by one. All of the colors that you pick end up at the top here in your color history. Now from here, I can sort, organize, and create brand new color palettes. You can see here, I already have a few color palettes that I've made in the past, one for my podcast, another one for my personal site, and then a YouTube one here as well for fun. It's really easy to create a new color palette. I can just click up here to create a new palette and drag and drop existing colors from my color history into the new color palette. One neat new feature of SIP 2.0 is smart formats. You'll see at the top here that I have CSS hex selected. Now, this is the most common color format that I use as a designer. I'm mostly designing in Figma, and so that works with hex codes really, really easily. But what you can do is you can change your format to a different color format of your choice. Maybe you're working in a different tool or with a different color format. So you can easily change the color format that you want to use, or just click on this icon here and it will sort of smartly change the color format that it thinks you should be using based on the tool that you're in. Let me show you my favorite feature of SIP 2.0, which is the contrast checker. Now in here, I can choose any two colors and the contrast checker will give me a score, telling me whether the two colors I've chosen pass.
We'll find out.
And what I'm looking for here is a score of AAA, as this means that it's past the contrast check of
Come
SIP.
on, I've had enough.
AA is okay if you're using is less than 18 point. AA large is good if you're using font sizes larger than 18. And if you get a fail, then obviously don't use that color combination and try and adjust your colors to get a more friendly and contrasting color match. The cool part about SIP is that my color palettes can actually sit on the side of my screen, so I can have them very readily accessible whenever I want to use them. And I can choose myself which color palettes I want to have quick access to. So things like a brand palette, or maybe there's a special color palette for the design system that you're using. Those are really handy to have here in the side so that you can quickly grab them and see what colors are available to use. You can also save certain color palettes. Maybe you want quicker access to the color management of that palette. So just click on the heart icon here and that will save it for you in a favorite section.
All right, I'll go ahead and stop there, but you guys get the idea of what this does. And I think that is a, like I said, I don't know if any of you really have a use for this, but for me, like I said, I do design stuff all the time. So it's because sometimes I'll be like looking at something, I'm like, well, what is that color? I need to know that color. And I can, move around on my screen and find the color. Or, like I said, like with palettes, well, what would look really good with this color? And so it's something that comes in really handy for me. It is a pay app. So, I mean, again, it's $20, although I have it for 10 because of an education discount. And then once you buy it, like it's a yearly thing. And then if you extend it, you get 50% off that each year. But anyway, like I said, I don't know that any of you would have a need for this, but I think it's just a cool app that I use quite a bit.
Hey friend, welcome.
All right. All right. So I have an iPhone.
On that video, is there a link to be able to watch the video again?
I don't remember where I got from, but I'll tell you what I will do for you. I will, once I'm done presenting, I will go, because what I do is I embed these videos in here. I will put it in the chat where you can look at that. All right. So the next thing is, as I was saying, I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max. And so, it's funny when I find devices, they're all made for, MagSafe these days, and it drives me crazy a little bit. And so I came across this Mag Easy Hoop adhesive ring. Excuse me. And basically what you do is you put the ring either on the back of your phone or on the case. And now you have just made this into a MagSafe accessory. And so I haven't done this myself, but I've heard of people using it. and they said it worked pretty well. And so it's compatible, you know, as you can see here, it says it's compatible with iPhone 14, 13, 12. Well, I don't know why you would need it because those already have compatibility. So, but I could take my iPhone 11 Pro Max and I could, you know, make it MagSafe compatible with this. And it comes in a whole bunch of different colors. So if you have an older phone and you're looking to do something like that, this would be a you know, possibly a way you could do that. All right. Anybody hear the news of the burglary of an Apple store in Washington State?
No.
All right. Well, there's a little news story here I'll play for you guys.
This isn't the only buzz employees at Seattle Coffee Gear will be hearing this week.
There's a stud here and a stud there.
Eric Marks, the regional manager, says burglars cut through their bathroom wall to get to the Apple store on the other side. This picture showing it's a straight shot through to the back room of the business, known for making the world's most popular phone.
I would have never suspected that we were adjacent to the Apple store. I've never really looked at it. I've been in the Apple store a half a dozen times or more and never really thought, oh yeah, they're backed up to us. So somebody really had to think it out.
A map shows how the two businesses are connected. Eric is certain someone with knowledge of Apple store layouts planned this to steal iPhones. Linwood police confirming 436 iPhones were stolen, saying the value of everything taken sits at $500,000. Eric is taking it in stride, knowing their losses aren't that expensive to make necessary repairs.
We're probably looking somewhere in the $600, $700, $800 range. The locks we replaced yesterday, and it was almost $900 for that.
It's more concern for the safety of the employees.
I'm just thankful that no one was hurt. You know, at this point, my team wasn't in the store. No one was next door.
So they did that. It was on a Sunday. I think it was last week on a Sunday evening. And they went into they broke into the coffee place and they cut a hole in the bathroom and they cut it right between the studs and they squeezed through into the Apple store, stole all the stuff, came back through and it's they said, you know, it's more than just iPhones, but it was like $500,000 worth of stuff they stole. Wow. Obviously, somebody had to have some inside knowledge of this, you know, that this would work. So hadn't heard if they caught the people, but that was just last week. So thought it was an interesting story that I would share with you. And the last thing I have here, I believe tonight, I think it's the last thing, is there is a new sort of Steve Jobs memoir, if you will, that you can get for free. And so this Tuesday, they released the Steve Jobs Archive released a book called Make Something Wonderful, Steve Jobs in His Own Words. And everything in there comes directly from Steve Jobs. And they've got like speeches and interviews and his own emails that he sent to himself. They supposedly say that in there's like never before seen content and you can get it for free. And there's multiple ways to do this. And so you can download it. The first link I have there is a download and you can download it in like whatever, you know, e-reader you want. And then the second one is it's like I don't know, it's like a web experience, they say. Like, can you guys see my browser here? Can you guys see the browser?
I don't
No,
know.
we can see your
I just see the
presentation.
slide.
Okay, never mind then. I thought if I click that, you'd be able to see that, but I guess not. Anyway, it's kind of a cool effect and the cover of the book comes up on the screen and it's more of a web thing. Or if you go to the download thing, you can download it to whatever e-reader you want. So, so anyway, I haven't done it myself, but that just came out this week. All right.
Takes a lot of time, yeah.
And there you have it, guys, my goodies.
Thanks, Glenn.
Sure.
Thank you.
And Tammy, I will get that link for you here as we go along.
Well, Glenn, if you would send me the links to any of the videos that were on there, I'll make sure it gets on our website too.
Yeah, you know, I
Sure.
always forget when I'm doing that because what I do is I always just download the videos and embed them in there. because I don't want to have to be reliant on, it's going to take me to sort of like I just tried to do there. I don't know that it's always going to get me there. So I embed everything. And then I always forget, I want to put the links in and I always forget to do that. So I will add those links in there for you. And then I had the PDF ready to go and then I'll send it to you.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks again. There was lots of information there and a lot to digest, but it'll be on the website. So if you want to go back and check any of that out, it'll be there. I'm going to move to a video. It's fairly long. And after that plays, then Steve will talk to us about Apple Pay later. But this video is about iOS 16.4. And like we just mentioned, 16.4.1 just came out last Friday, but 16.4 is the major update. And this video will talk about all the things that's new about it. Let's see if I get the right. No, okay. I had the right thing there for a second. Okay, give me a second here. Let me click on the share. Now this one is about 19 minutes. So if you got to do a potty break, please do. And this guy talks pretty fast. And there are actually a couple ads that come up. They're only 5 seconds, so I'll click off of them as quickly as I can. Is everybody seeing that guy 16.4 next to his head?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
iOS 16.4 is a massive update with more than 60 features and changes. So in this video, we're going to cover those new features and changes, along with give you an update on the performance, the battery life, and if you should update now or wait. So first off, the most important change for some people, we have 21 new emoji in iOS 16.4. So you can see some of the most notable ones right here. So we have the shaking face, we have the long-awaited pink heart, along with a blue one and a gray one. We have a pick, we have a goose, a moose, we have jellyfish. You can see all of them on the screen right now included in this update. The music application gets some major changes with this update. So first off, when you go into your playlist section right here, if you go to your library and then to playlists, you will notice, by the way, throughout this video, I will have 16.3.1 on the left, 16.4 on the right. So first off, in the top right, you can see it used to say sort. It was text. Now we have a glyph icon. Both of them show the same things, but there's a new icon there to indicate the sorting. You will also notice that the playlists are much more compact. The little sections are much more compact than they were previously. And if we go into one of those playlists, you will notice that there are multiple changes throughout the music application. So first off, when you press and hold and you go to play next, instead of taking up the entire screen, you will notice that we now have a much smaller animation at the bottom. So now you can continue adding things to your queue without having to wait for that big old box to disappear. You will also notice that the animation does not last as long. So the playing next down there does not last as long as the big box did in the middle. The waveform animation also has a change. So here's what it looked like on iOS 16.3.1. Here's what it looks like on iOS 16.4. If you tap on the three dots, suggest less like this has now turned into suggest less. Also right above that, if you go to love, you will notice that the glyph icon has changed. And also you can see just how much that animation makes a difference when you're trying to do things in the music application. If you go back to library and go to artists and then go to an artist, you will notice that we now have a profile picture up top along with a much more noticeable way to get to the artist page, whereas before it was just a small text at the bottom. You may have noticed this by now, but up in the top right, you will see our account profile up in the top right-hand corner. It shows our little profile picture there in every tab, whereas before it was only on the Listen Now tab. There's also an application for Apple Music Classical now. So if you're into classical music, you can download that as a standalone application. It is free.
Get your snack faves with low prices and great deals from Target.
Free for existing Apple Music subscribers and $5 a month if you are not an existing subscriber. Also relating to music, if we go into our settings and into sounds and haptics, you will notice that personalized spatial audio has been moved to the top here. So now you can access that much easier versus where it was kind of hidden within the settings before. The podcast application gets some new features. So first off, you will notice right away when you go to your library, we have a new section called channels. Now, when you go onto that, you will see that what this does is it shows you channels from shows that you follow. So think of this like an artist page, but for podcast hosts or podcast companies. Like for example, Wondery, if we go right here, you will see that they have 164 shows. I'm only subscribed to one of them. So this is kind of a good way to discover other shows by the same host or the same company of podcasts that you're already subscribed to. Also, under the recently updated section, you will now notice that it shows down to the hour when that podcast episode was released. So you can see instead of saying updated today, it shows updated 8 hours ago. Or for Colin and Samir, it shows 15 hours ago versus the day. It will also show how many new episodes you have that you have not listened to yet, whereas before it didn't show that at all. You can also see that on the actual podcast episode page. You can see up top it shows 21 hours ago, whereas here it just says Thursday. You'll also see some changes to the up next section. So you will start seeing podcast episodes of shows that you are not necessarily following, but you've listened to previously, and they will stay there. Whereas before, you can see they kind of just disappear once you start playing another podcast. This update also includes a major new feature for phone calls, and that is the voice isolation feature. So now when you go to your control center while on a call, you will see up in the top right, we have mic mode. And when you tap on that, you have the option between standard, voice isolation, and wide spectrum. And now voice isolation is excellent. So it's designed to remove background noise and improve microphone quality while on phone calls. And I've tested this multiple times and asked the person on the other end of the phone if I sound better, and they said it was night and day. It sounded like a FaceTime audio call. So I would highly recommend turning this on. And the good thing about this is once you turn it on once, it stays on for future phone calls as well. Just remember to go into your control center once you update and tap on that mic mode and make sure to go into voice isolation and select it. This feature has been available for FaceTime calls and other third-party applications, but now it's available for cellular phone calls, regular phone calls. And speaking of phone calls, this update also brings 5G standalone mode for T-Mobile customers. So this is essentially just faster 5G, and it uses 5G for all cellular activity, including cellular network connections. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this video and learning something new and want to see more just like it, hit that subscribe button down below. I've been told that I remind subscribers of a new iOS update before their iPhone does. This update also includes a major change to the way that we receive beta updates. So before, to get a beta update, you would need to have a profile. So under settings, general, VPN, and device management, you would see your profile for the betas, and basically you would go into your software updates and you would see it populate right there. Well, now we have a brand new section here that says beta updates. And in here, it shows either off, developer beta, or public beta. Basically, what's going on here is that you're not going to need a profile to install beta updates in the future. Apple is kind of phasing out the profile method of getting betas. So developer beta, if you have that selected, that means that you need to have your Apple ID associated with your developer account that you're paying Apple $100 a year for. If it's not your Apple ID on your main account, you can tap right here where it says Apple ID and tap on use a different Apple ID. That way you could, sign in with the one that you paid for the developer account with. And if you want to receive public betas, you would just select public beta. And the great thing about this is that you could also turn beta updates off. This way you don't have to delete a profile and reinstall a profile whenever you want to get beta updates. You could just simply turn it off to stop receiving beta updates. So this is going to essentially eliminate the pirated developer profiles that always go around every year for Apple getting the developer betas for free. So now moving forward, you're probably going to have to go to the iOS 16 public beta if you don't want to pay to get those developer betas early. And while we're in the settings here, I want to show you one of my favorite features in this update. It's pretty niche, but it's one of my favorites. If you go into the focus settings and then go into one of your focus modes and then go all the way to the bottom to focus filters, tap on add filter, you will see a brand new one for always on display. When you tap on that, you now have the ability to turn always on display on or off while in a focus mode. So for example, when I'm working, when I'm recording a video right here, I have that focus filter on and I have it to turn my always on display off so I don't get distracted, by looking over at my notifications. This is an excellent feature if you use focus modes, which I believe everybody should be. And if you go to the actual always on display section under your display and brightness and to always on display, you can see the verbiage change right there underneath for the description. And then when you go into here, you will also notice a difference with the verbiage up top, whereas before the always on display was up top. Now it's at the bottom. You can see that the customize has now been added to where it says show wallpaper and show notifications. And there's also an additional section there that says the display will turn off automatically to save battery life when not in use. If you use Safari to browse the web on your iPhone, you're gonna love the new features in iOS 16.4. So first off, we have web push notifications. So if you download a web application, you can now receive notifications from it just like a normal application, as you can see.
The best way to burn fat and get in shape. It's not keto, paleo, fasting, or vegan, and it's not super intense.
Right here. And the good thing is these act as normal notifications. So like when you go into a focus mode, and you disable notifications, it includes the notifications from web applications. You can also now add web applications from other browsers besides Safari. So Apple has always prevented other browsers from installing website bookmarks and web applications. But with 16.4, you can now do that with Chrome, Edge, Firefox, or any other third-party application. You now have that add to home screen option. And if you do add something from a third-party browser, it's now going to open in your default browser, and it's not going to be just in Safari. You'll also notice that the bookmarks are much cleaner now in 16.4. So before, it would sometimes show like a screenshot of the front page, but now it uses the favicon, and it's much higher quality than it was previously. In the Photos application, your phone will now detect duplicates in the shared library. So if you do have a shared library, you will see that you do have duplicates down here. However, you cannot see it when you're only in the shared library. You need to go to both libraries, but they will both show up in here. If you use the Shortcuts application, you're gonna love iOS 16.4 because there are several changes. Just to name a few, we have set VPN, we have a lock screen action, and I actually added this one to my home screen. So you can see when I press on this button right here, it automatically locks my device. There's an action for shutdown, set always on display, set true tone, set night shift, and multiple others, as you can see on the screen right now, including auto answer calls, set announce notifications, intercom, set airdrop receiving, set stage manager, and more. And then when you go to change the icon for one of your shortcuts, you will notice that there are several new icons to choose from, along with new categories. So you can see gaming is up top now, whereas before it was objects, and you just have a lot more to choose from now in 16.4. And if you make a shortcut with the open app action, you can actually tap on the icon up top now, and you have the option to choose between the default app icon, or you could choose a separate icon with all these glyphs right here. And then finally, the ask for input action now has a new toggle for allow multiple lines. iOS 16.4 also re-releases the home architecture upgrade, which was released and then subsequently pulled by Apple with iOS 16.2. So if you never updated your home architecture back in 16.2 before it was pulled, you're now able to do that with this update. However, I did update with 16.2, so I did not get the option. However, there are a couple of minor changes in the home application, including this one right here. So speakers and TVs used to have its own section for some reason, but now it's in here with everything else. And when you tap on that, you will see up top, it used to say allow speaker and TV access. Now it just says speakers and TV. And we also have an addition for Matter accessories. So this update adds both manual and automatic software update support for Matter accessories. In the wallet application, we now have a new filter tab next to latest card transactions. So now you can filter your transactions by payments, disputed transactions, refunds and adjustments, or purchases. And when you go to pay off your Apple Card, there are a couple of changes here as well with the buttons at the bottom. So it used to say pay later, now it says schedule. It used to say pay now, now it says pay with the amount. And it used to say show keypad, now it just says other amounts. And also this screen after you pay the amount has changed as well. It looks a little bit different than it did before. And speaking of the wallet application, if you go to your home screen and press and hold to add a new widget and go to the wallet widget, you will notice that we have new widgets for order tracking, 3 different sizes. So we have the large, the medium, and the small. And this will show your active orders if you purchase them with your Apple Pay cards. In the Books application, if you go into your themes and settings, you will notice that we have a new section here for the page turn animation. So the classic curl page turn animation has returned in Books. So now it looks like you're actually flipping the page in a real book. I love this look right here. This is what it was like before. It was just this little slide animation. Looks much better now. And what's nice is that you could also disable the animation if you want. So if you want to go to slide, you can do that. Or if you want to go to none, you can do that as well. That way there's no animation and it just changes the page just like so. This update also includes a long overdue accessibility feature. So if you go into settings and into accessibility and then into motion, you will notice a brand new option called dim flashing lights. And it says video content that depicts repeated flashing or strobing lights will be automatically dimmed. So if you have epilepsy or if you just don't like seeing flashing lights because it hurts your head or whatever the reason, you can now disable that essentially. It dims it to the point where it doesn't affect you. So here's an example of what it looks like with these little laser lights with the feature turned off. And here's what it looks like with it turned on. So it will dim it enough to where it's not going to cause strain on your eyes, a headache. It's not going to cause anything. If you have epilepsy, it's going to keep that in mind. So this is a great feature to have here in iOS 16.4. And speaking of accessibility, if you are a VoiceOver user, you now have VoiceOver for the maps in the weather application. Heading back into our settings, if you go to General, About, and then into Coverage, where it shows our Apple Care and our device coverage for our warranties, you can see that it now not only shows your current device, it also shows the glyph icons next to it. Before, there were no glyph icons. It didn't even say this device up top. Completely different here in 16.4, but it also shows your paired devices. So it's also going to show your coverage for your AirPods, your Apple Watch, anything that you have paired with that device. And you can see the coverage details by just going into the product from this page. So you can see each one has its own little section here that tells you about the Apple Care coverage. Now, something that's kind of hard to notice is that
Snap your W-2 and file your simple tax return with both Fed and state.
the Face ID prompt is bolder and more round compared to 16.3.1. When I go to connect my AirPods, you will notice that the glyph icon in settings is different. So you will see that it now has a little gray background, whereas before it just looked like that. In the emergency SOS settings, we have some verbiage changes under call quietly. So before it was just that one sentence, and now it says warnings, alarms, flashes, and voiceover audio will be silenced when using hold and release or 5 button presses to place an emergency call. And then also with emergency SOS via satellite, it now shows when the next satellite will pass. It'll actually tell you a countdown of when that next satellite is going to be passing. If we head into our settings and go to general and then down to language and region, you will notice that we have a new section here for number format. So you can now change the number format on your device between these three. Also in settings, if you go to general and then to VPN and device management, and then go into VPN, you will notice that under add VPN configuration, we have a new sentence there that says VPNs can be set up to control the routing of certain network traffic. And you also have the about page where it shows you more about VPNs and your privacy. If you go into your Siri and search settings, we have new non-English Siri voices. So we have Arabic right here. You have 2 different voices for Arabic. And if you go into language and then change it to Hebrew, we also have 2 languages for Hebrew, or 2 different Siri voices for Hebrew. Before, you were able to change the language to Arabic or Hebrew, but you didn't have the option of choosing between 2 different voices. There's also some new non-English keyboard features. So the Korean keyboard now has autocorrect enabled by default. The Ukrainian keyboard now supports predictive text. These 3 keyboards add support for transliteration layouts, and there are new keyboard layouts for these 2 languages right here. If you put in the wrong passcode too many times and you get to this screen right here, you will notice that we now have a support document linked on the iPhone unavailable screen. And for iPadOS 16.4, we have some Apple Pencil hover improvements. So it says Apple Pencil now supports tilt and azimuth in hover mode. And as far as bug fixes go, we do have a few bug fixes. The first one I noticed has to do with the notification cards. So for some reason on previous versions, I would see like this little squared off effect. They would show up as squared and then they would go back to being rounded on these notification cards. But that appears to be fixed in 16.4. I don't have that weird UI bug anymore. And then we also have some bug fixes mentioned in the release notes. So Apple says resolves the issue where asked to buy requests from children may fail to appear on the parent's device. There's also a fix for Matter compatible thermostats, which I have right here. They would become unresponsive on previous versions of iOS, and that has been fixed here in 16.4. They no longer just randomly go out in my home application. And of course, for the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro series, there are new crash detection optimizations, which means that you're probably going to have less false triggers and you're not going to call the cops when you go on a roller coaster or when you fall when you're skiing. Now, in terms of performance, I did notice a bump in performance coming from 16.3.1. And I think this is the first time I've actually noticed a change in performance since like 16.1 back in 2022. So, it's great that I'm not getting those UI bugs anymore either. Just overall, the performance feels great here on 16.4. I've actually been pretty impressed with it. And for battery life, I also noticed a slight improvement, which is a rarity. I feel like I've been saying battery life has been the same forever, but I did notice a slight improvement here with 16.4. I still don't think it's quite as good as we had it on iOS 15, unfortunately, but the battery life is pretty solid here. I noticed the biggest improvement when it came to standby time. I noticed that my phone stayed at 100% for much longer when I wasn't doing anything on the phone than it did on 16.3.1. And then finally, let's answer the question, should you update now or wait? And I say that if you're on 16.3.1 or really any version of iOS 16, I think it's a no-brainer. You may as well go ahead and update now. Usually I say to wait a little bit because we don't know if there's going to be any crazy bugs or anything breaking, but we're so deep into the iOS 16 release cycle that that's most likely not going to happen. So I think it's worth updating for all the changes, especially for the emojis. You don't want your friends sending you the emojis and you just get the little question mark box on your phone. And then we do also have plenty of security fixes, I'm sure, that are coming soon. Apple has not published those yet, but I will let you guys know what's been fixed security-wise in my next Apple Weekly episode. But on the flip side, if you are somebody who likes to play it safe, you may as well just wait a few days. I always release my Apple Weekly episode at the end of every week, so I will give you an update on how iOS 16.4 is running after a few days. But keep in mind, I've been running the RC build, which is the same as the final, for a week now. So I have a pretty good, feel for how iOS 16.4 runs, and it runs pretty great. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more iOS update videos just like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, I know that's kind of long and he talks really fast, but he covered a huge amount of things. And he has a video that came out just a couple of days ago. Oh, sorry. Let me get rid of this.
Okay, let's do
Go
this.
away, go away. There
I
we
think
go.
it was almost too much information.
Yeah, but that was everything that came out with the change. So one of the things is the audio for phone calls. That's really useful. And he claims you'll really notice, or people that you talk to will notice the difference. Glenn, have you reset your phone for that?
The funny thing is I kept meaning to and I keep forgetting to. So, but as I understand it, to set it there, you have to be on a call. So I was just,
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so, because like if I pull down in my control center, I don't see the activation for it. So I think you have to actually make a call and then do it while you're in the call.
Huh.
And so I just keep forgetting to do it, but I have read that it really does make a difference in sound quality.
And he came out with a 16.4.1 just a couple of days ago, and all those fixes he talked about and the safety issues he claims are there in that new version. So he says for sure do 16.4.1 if you're on 16.4. Don't wait. Okay.
I saw an interesting article yesterday. I haven't read it yet, but it was from Wired. How to use Apple's all-new 1Password manager. It's got a lot of details that we ought to maybe go over. for people that are still using 1Password or something.
Is it out now? Does it actually work?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, send me that link, Alan, and I'll put it into the website and we
Okay,
have to take a look at it, I guess.
I'll just put it on here. Let's see if I can, well, it was on the news. Let's see, maybe I can go over and try and change that to Safari so I can get a link. It was on Apple News. Let's see. Go to. No. They used to be able to just click on the Apple News and go directly to one of their things. I'll just have to search on it. I'll get that to you, Ron.
Okay. So we're going to move on to Steve. He's got a short, he said it was a short, I want to find out, presentation on Apple Pay Later, which is, well, let Steve explain what that even is, okay?
Okay, do. See. And there's. There. Are we in business?
Yep.
Okay. Let me get you guys out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. There. Yep. This is the one that's got my notes on it. Hold on. There we go. That's the one I want. Okay, most of us are already familiar with Apple Pay and how it works with Apple Card and the Wallet app and Apple Cash. Well, now Apple is venturing further into the finance business. Apple Pay Later is a service that allows you to finance an Apple Pay purchase over a short period of time. It's similar to other buy now, pay later services like those offered by PayPal, Affirm, and Klarna. With Apple Pay Later and an active Apple Pay account, a user can get an instant loan for as much as $1,000. The loans are interest-free and there are no fees.
Wow.
Somebody say something?
I just
No.
did wow. I
Oh.
just wonder, I know they can afford it, but they had to twist somebody's arms to get them to accept it.
Yeah, good. Okay, the loan can be used for any purchase, not just for Apple products. And the purchase can be made at any business that accepts Apple Pay. In order to qualify for Apple Pay Later, a customer must have his bank's debit card in the Wallet app on his phone or Mac. The loans are granted with the usual Face ID, Touch ID, or passcode that you use to make purchases. And then over the next 6 weeks, the loan is paid back in 4 installments. Apple first hinted at having its own buy now, pay later service as far back as 2022. This year, they are putting it in motion. Apple launched a pre-release version of Apple Pay Later on March 28th, but only to a limited number of Apple Pay users in the US who were selected at random. Hey. My wife is making a lot of noise over here. Apple has not said when they will make the full version available, though analysts expect to see it available this fall when it will be another feature in the Wallet app. Starting this fall, Apple Financial Services will report a customer's use of Apple Pay Later to the usual US credit bureaus such as TransUnion and Equifax, which will improve a consumer's credit score. As always with Apple, customers' transactions and loan history will be kept confidential. Apple is probably the best in the world at keeping your private information private. And if you're thinking about buying a new device, or perhaps you want to take advantage of a discount, but you don't want to shell out a large amount of all at once, Apple Pay Later may be something to look into, especially since the loan is interest-free. Also, any business where a customer wants to spend the loan only needs to have Apple Pay readily available as a form of payment. And if you want to read more, here are 2 links to online articles that go into more detail. And that's all I have.
Steve, as I understand it, the merchant that you're buying from doesn't know that you're using Apple Pay Later. All they know is you're using Apple Pay, correct?
Correct. Yeah. The money goes to you to spend. And as far as the merchant knows, well, he doesn't know where the money's coming from.
Sounds like they're flush with cash, huh?
Yeah. I think it's going to be kind of cool. I mean, most of us, we're past that point where we're concerned about our credit scores. We're not going to be taking out any mortgages. But if something is on sale, or if you've just been itching to get that new iPhone 14 or whatever, but you don't want to shell out all the cash all at once, then this might be a good route to check out.
Are those 4 weeks of payments, or was it 6? I forget. They're equal amounts, basically.
I assume so.
Yeah.
The details I read go that far into it. Is 4 payments spread out over 6 weeks.
Oh, okay. How would you know? You said people were selected randomly. How would you know if that was already possible on your phone? Did they mention that?
You'd get a notice. I think they've
Okay.
already been selected. That was like a beta version that we're trying out.
Yeah.
And like the article said, they were just picked at random. People.
I didn't get a notice, so it's not me.
Yeah, me neither.
Maybe they told you you were a well-qualified buyer. I always like that line from the car companies.
Well qualified buyer.
It always starts off with congratulations too.
Yeah. We're going to let you spend more money. Okay, let's see what else we got on the agenda here. Oh, shoot. Oh, I just closed one I didn't want to close. That was really stupid. Give me a second.
If you're on your iPhone doing that, you could use the trick I showed you earlier.
No, I'm on the computer.
Well, now you can test if you can open the ones you closed. You said you're going to try that later.
This is an article I found, I thought was kind of interesting because it's about Apple Watch fall detection. Let's see what you think. Is that showing the kind of watch you have, Glenn?
Yes, that's an Ultra.
That's an Ultra, I thought so. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is about checking whether you have fall detection set correctly. It says it's grown over the years. It's gone from wrist-worn device to a health and fitness device and measures all sorts of things. Says if you should be in an accident or you have any sort of irregular heartbeat, or even you accidentally fall. Fall detection is the one this article talks about. So how do you enable that? Here's a little video. I think it'll pop up, but I don't know. But are you seeing that video?
No.
Okay, give me a second. I have to stop this share and share that one. Let's see, there it is.
I've always wanted to fall and just test out and see if it really works.
Alan's watch called us one time.
Well, you know, they were claiming for a while there that if you rode a roller coaster or things, it might set it off. Well, they claim that 16.4.1 now has fixed some of those glitches. Okay, here's this video. Can you see that weird thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I just showed
Apple
you.
recently made a bunch of headlines by releasing fall detection for the Pixel Watch. But if you have an Apple Watch, that feature has been built in for quite a while. I'm Jason Cipriani, and in this ZDNet how-to video, I'm going to walk you through how to enable fall detection on your Apple Watch. So why would you want to enable fall detection? You're not clumsy, you never fall, but it's about peace of mind, right? If you're on a ladder, if you're constantly in a sport or activity where you're on your own, going on runs, perhaps you fall on that, or maybe you're just clumsy and you fall quite a bit. I know we all have at least one family member who does that. Having fall detection on your watch, which uses a combination of sensors and algorithms built into the watch to detect a hard fall, ask if you're okay, and if you don't get if the watch doesn't get a response, call for help with your exact location. Could be literally a lifesaver. So what do you need in order to use this feature? Well, it's available on the Apple Watch SE or newer, so the two SE models, as well as the Apple Watch Series 4 or newer. If you have any of those models, so that could be an Ultra or a Series 7 or anywhere above the Series 4, you can enable fall detection with just a few taps. And in fact, when you set up your Apple Watch, it uses some of that information, specifically your age, to determine what level of fall detection is turned on. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. But you're also asked to turn it on during the initial setup of your watch. So if you skipped past that, unsure what it is, here's how you can go back and turn it on manually. The easiest way to do this is on an iPhone. I'm going to walk you through on my iPhone right now. I actually already have it turned on, but I'll walk you through what the different levels of fall detection are based on your age and all of that. All right, so on your iPhone, what you'll do is go to the Apple Watch app. You then are going to scroll down and find Emergency SOS. And Emergency SOS, don't get that confused with fall detection. They're two different things. So Emergency SOS is you can hold the side button in on your watch to get help, to call 911 and let the emergency responders know you're in emergency, you need help. So that's automatically on, right? Car crash detection is also on. And then you get to fall detection. And for me, it's on. I turned it on during the initial setup of my Apple Watch Ultra. But you can see there's two options here. There's always on, and then there's only on during workouts. And I was under the impression until I started working on this video that my watch was always on fall detection. I had no idea at what point or when or if it ever changed to workout only. But this is fascinating to me. So I did some research. It turns out when you enter your age, when setting up your Apple Watch, as you enter a bunch of fitness, your weight, your height, age, stuff like that. If you're under 55, Apple Watch fall detection and enabling it defaults to only during workouts. It won't turn on for always on. If you're 55 or older, which I guess are people who are more prone to accidental falls, or at least having severe accidental falls, it defaults to always on. All right, so what I want to do is turn fall detection on. If you have it turned off, you toggle that switch. Based on your age, it'll select the default setting. If you want to switch it, I'm going to tap always on. That's going to let me know. And I can hit confirm. It's going to let me know that there could be false alerts. And it may, to pay attention. If your watch is beeping and glaring at you, or sirens blaring at you, so pay attention so you don't accidentally call for help. If you were always on and you want to turn it to only during workouts, the simple toggle there as well. That's all there is to turning on fall detection on your Apple Watch. It's a simple process, takes just a couple of minutes. Now you know how to use fall detection, or at least turn on fall detection on your smartwatch, whether it's for you or an elderly family member who you bought a watch for just for the peace of mind. I'm Jason Cipriani with ZDNet. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to check out zdnet.com for more tech tips just like this one, as well as all the latest tech news and reviews.
You know, Ron, there was something very interesting you said in there that doesn't really jive.
Mint's new family
Give me a
plan.
second, I gotta turn this
$50 a month
damn
per
thing
person.
on.
So I've asked my wife and plan member to back me up.
Okay, hold on. There it is, okay. Go ahead,
So,
Glenn.
I noticed he said, and I already knew like where to find it and everything, how to turn it on, but I noticed he said that the always on is for people 55 and under. Yet mine is always on, and or I mean for 55 and older. I'm under 55. And I know, having looked at it before, that it's always been always on, even though I've been under 55. So I'm not sure about that, although coincidentally, I will be 55 a week from Friday, but I don't know if my watch is anticipating that coming, so I'm not sure that's right necessarily, because I've never, like, I mean, I set it on when I set up the watch, but I haven't done anything else, and it's always been on the always on set.
Well, Alan, why don't you tell them about the time it went off for you? What were you doing?
Well, I had one of them. I put my phone in upside down in my holder and it grabbed it and it called 911 while I was driving.
Well, that's like pushing the buttons or something like
Yeah,
that.
I just had put my phone up there, and my brother had bought me one of these things from the dash. And so I just set my phone up there, but it was upside down and it squeezed the buttons. And so it called 911. I had to answer it. I've fallen a few times, or I've done things like using the axe or something, but it always notifies you, and I canceled it. I don't think that was the only time that they called you, David.
Yeah.
Oh, you actually got a call, David?
Well, I'm on his list. He's on my list. Yeah.
We're friends.
I've always wanted to know how hard or far you actually have to fall to trigger it.
No, I don't know. I was using an axe and things like that. And my wife's had it fall, you just have to jar your wrist. I don't know.
Now, I fell before I had a watch, and I wish I had had it, but, I fell and hit hard on my wrist. And
Like
I thought I broke something, but I was with my wife, so I was okay, but it could have been bad.
Like, I wonder if I was on a trampoline with this thing, would it,
No.
I think it has to be a
sudden.
They did say that some people riding roller coasters were finding it setting off.
But those roller coasters, some of them are pretty weird.
Yeah, they jostle you around quite a bit. But they claim that the new 16441 has fixed that. Exactly how, I don't know, but that it's less likely to get false positives.
Yeah, I haven't had.
I know that a few years ago, I think it was, I can't remember which which OS version it was, but my wife's would trigger when she would get something out of the back seat of the car. She was not off balance. Both feet were on the ground. She would have leaned over, use the left rear car door, lean inside to pick up a sack or something. And it's not as though the thing was heavy, because it wasn't. And she would just lean over, or maybe pick up something in front of the passengers, in front of the back seat from the floor. Okay, so that's all she was doing, was leaning over and getting a certain number of degrees. The angle of her upper body was a certain number of degrees off vertical, and that's all it took.
Huh.
And the thing would do this every time. So she finally just shut it off, and neither one of us has had it enabled since. Now, whether or not the improvements in sensitivity have been that much so that it's worth bringing it back, I'm not sure.
Well, you should try it, John, because it's worthwhile if it works when you need it.
Agreed.
So I would, and they claim that they fixed some of the issues. So I'd try it again and just see if it's better.
It's like you hear different people's experiences. It almost seems like it's I don't know, like a bit random, and maybe it just hasn't been fully refined, but like I've jumped into water from more than 10 feet up. You know, I'm moving pretty fast down, you hit the water, or like I've been in a jet ski bounding over waves with it on and boom, you know. But then it seems like people who, you know, have less action than that, it triggers. So I don't know. Haven't figured it out, but I think it's nice to have on. Hopefully,
That-
if I ever need it, it'll be there.
You
It
haven't
may be a
scanned-
factor of age too. Because
Could
the
be.
older somebody is, the less it takes for them to get hurt if they fall. So
Well, since I'm
maybe
turning
that's
5 next week, we'll see if I trigger it all of a sudden.
it.
I'm wrestling with my son or something and it goes off.
Oh, it won't work.
Okay, I have one last thing. It's only 3 minutes and it's about Bing chat. Have you all heard about Bing? It's Microsoft's answer
Respond.
to
Yeah.
Chat GPT and all that stuff. So let me play this. It's an interesting little lady. She's going to talk about Bing chat. Okay, do you see her face?
Yes.
Good lady, you're right.
Okay, let me blow her up here. Uh-oh, I don't hear her. Oh, I know, I turned up. Ah,
You didn't blow her up yet.
Well, that's a good thing because she seems nice, so we wouldn't want to hurt her.
okay.
No, you should be able to go down into the
There's the
very
volume.
right bottom of her screen, right there. Yeah.
We didn't have any audio.
I know where the button was. I tried to get the sound to come in.
Audio, yeah. Still no audio.
Well, I'm not getting that sound.
Yep.
I don't know why. Give me a second. So maybe you're not going to watch this lady.
That's why I embed the videos. I download them and embed them in my PowerPoints instead of relying on that.
Generative AI,
Oh,
like
there
what
it
you
is.
find in
Okay, hold on.
ChatGPT, has taken over the tech world and beyond, with people using it for anything from writing code to writing essays.
No, we don't see it
The
though.
new Bing Chat and
Give me a
ChatGPT
second,
are
guys.
just two of the most
Okay, I'm
popular
just letting you know.
of it. The biggest difference.
I know what
between
you
the
don't
two
see
is that
'cause
the
I'm
new Bing
seeing it
uses
too.
GPT-4, which is OpenAI's latest version of a language model, where ChatGPT in the free version only has GPT 3.5. Also, Bing is
Okay, put her back.
while ChatGPT
Blow
is
her
all
up.
the
There you
rage right
go.
now, Microsoft isn't looking to get left
I'm
behind.
not seeing anything.
Launched a new
You're not?
revamped AI.
You?
Nobody's seen her?
Oh,
You?
It seems we can either see her or hear her, but not both.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. I may curse here pretty soon, but give me a second.
Perfect wife, huh? See, not her.
Okay, let me try this one more time.
no.
Are you seeing that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, now we have her. Oh,
Okay. Try it again.
While ChatGPT is all the rage right now,
Can you hear and
Microsoft
see
isn't
her?
looking to get left
Yes.
behind. The
Okay.
company launched a new revamped AI-powered Bing, dubbed the new Bing, with, you guessed it, a chat feature. And now that the waitlist is open, let's dive right in to learn how you can get started using the new Bing chat. Generative AI, like what you find in ChatGPT, has taken over the tech world and beyond, with people using it for anything from writing code to writing essays. The new Bing Chat and ChatGPT are just two of the most popular examples of it. The biggest difference between the two is that the new Bing uses GPT-4, which is OpenAI's latest version of a large language model, where ChatGPT in the free version only has GPT 3.5. Also, Bing is connected to the internet where ChatGPT is not. ChatGPT is only trained on data up to the year 2021, so it's unable to answer questions about events that happened since 2021. You'll find a lot more differences between ChatGPT and the new Bing. So let's go through learning how to use the new Bing chat. The first step is to open Edge. If you don't have it, just download it from Microsoft. Edge is available for Windows, Mac, and Linux, as well as Android and iOS. Once you open Edge, you can go to bing.com. You may see an area prompting you to try the new Bing. You can click here or just go up here where you'll see the option to chat instead of searching. Then you just have to log into your Microsoft account. If you don't have one, then you can just create one using any email address. And now we're ready to use the new Bing. Bing works as an AI-powered search engine since it can access the internet. And you can find the chat feature anytime you go to Bing. Much like you can search for images and videos, you can choose chat. So let's get to know the new Bing. When you open it, you'll be able to choose a conversation style. Each one of these is self-descriptive. We're choosing more creative. We'll get you responses that are original and more imaginative. More balanced is similar in tone to ChatGPT, and informative and friendly chat. And more precise will render concise and straightforward answers. You have your text area right here where you can write your prompts and then press enter to send. And when Bing replies, you'll see a number that helps you keep count of how many responses you've gotten. There's a limit of 20 responses per conversation, 150 conversations per day. Even though Bing does not give you answers in a list format like a search engine would, it does gather most of its responses from the internet. So Bing will also list any sources in links below the message bubble. You may also see suggested follow-up questions right here that you can ask that may relate to your own question, or they may not. If you click on this new topic button, you can start a new conversation and delete the previous chat. It's worth noting that your search history is saved to your Microsoft account depending on your settings, but you can always delete that as well. Down here, there's a feedback button to provide suggestions and report anything that doesn't look quite right. So that's the gist on how to use the new Bing chat. What do you think? Are AI chatbots ready to replace search engines? Let us know what you think in the comments, and thank you so much for watching.
Notion has been the setter.
Okay.
I don't think I'm willing to give my information to Microsoft to do that, though.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, Alan. You know, by the
I
way,
would, if I'm guessing, Microsoft probably knows everything about you already.
I don't know why, but as she was signing off, it made me think of something kind of funny you guys might find amusing. So my son was doing a video at school and he was reading from a book, but they post these to a video that parents have access to. And at the end of his reading, he said, "And if you like my reading, check out my page and click on the link and check out my page."
Your
Like,
son said that?
YouTube page, yeah. I'm like, man, you've been watching too much YouTube.
So is he
You know,
posting other videos?
What's that?
His page, does it have other videos on it?
No, it's, I forget what the software, web-based software they use in the classroom. The only people
Oh, in
who
the
have
class,
access
okay.
are like parents, you know, to that.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. We actually just had a little training thing for anybody who wanted at school for like the virtual stuff, more based on like plagiarism stuff. You know, so it's interesting because frankly, I can't seem to go anywhere now without seeing articles on all of this AI stuff. And it, you know, should we have it? Should we not have it? Is it dangerous? Is it not dangerous? I mean, I think we're well down that road, but I do see where, I don't know, for some reason, I'm a little more bothered by it than not.
Why do I keep thinking that stuff like ChatGPT basically has opened up Pandora's box?
Yeah, but like the box, Robert, once it was open, you can't put it back. So
That's right. And that's
I
what
think
I'm
we're
trying to
already
figure out
open
here.
all the boxes. And no matter
I
how
think
much they debate whether it's good or bad, it's with us. So you got to
Yeah,
make
I
it
was-
work for you.
I know it's getting close to the time, but just a quick question. When ChatGPT first came out, soon after that, there was a guy who, ironically enough, was using AI, came up with a scheme for evaluating this is for mostly for teachers to use, for evaluating something you had read to see whether or not it had been created by ChatGPT. Okay, I don't know what the status of that is, or if any other of these ChatGPT checkers have come out. Anybody been following this?
I
No,
did
but
read somewhere that, yeah, teachers can, I don't know if they put it into Chat GPT, but it will tell you whether the information that you're reading came from them or not. Now, how it does it, I
just say
don't know.
something, guys. I don't need AI to tell me whether my kids have plagiarized. It's usually pretty obvious right off the bat, because I'm like, sorry, you don't talk like that, and teenagers don't use those words.
Oh, yeah. It's like when the kids wrote French and they had some native speaker write something for them. You could always tell.
Yeah.
They would
They
write
don't know
stuff
the
that they had no idea how to actually write, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I love when kids are giving a presentation, I'll stop them. I'm like, let me ask you a question. They're like, yeah, yeah. What's your question? What does that word mean?
Yeah, that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's not a word you guys would ever use. I'm like, and I tell them, besides plagiarism, I'm like, don't try to sound smart. Just sound like you giving the information.
Yeah.
Yes, some of that sounds very encyclopedic like.
At least make them rewrite it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I one time had a student, he wrote a really a marvelous essay in French, but I just knew it wasn't him because he wasn't able to do that good. And so I translated one of his sentences back into English. I handed it to him. I said, okay, put this back into French for me. He said, well, I use dictionaries. I said, you can have any dictionary here in the room to use. Well, of course, he couldn't do it. So he never would admit to me that he cheated, but the fact that he couldn't do it made it obvious. You know?
My guess is probably he used Google Translate.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I think he had a friend in France somewhere in Europe that he asked, write this for me. So they did.
And I got to tell you, if I have a question these days, I can usually just take a sentence or a snippet of text, put it in a search, and I'll usually find it pretty quick if I, even if I doubt it. Because usually I can tell, but I will do that because then I will actually pull it out of there so there's my evidence that I can show to them and or their parents if I do.
It may get harder and harder in the future though, as things go,
Ron, I don't care because I'll be gone.
That's right.
31 days,
and your
folks.
future is over. Okay, everybody. Thanks so much for Glenn and Steve and the presentations you did. Please don't forget to send me your PDFs or whatever and links.
Already did, Ron.
So I can put it on the website, and have a good month of April that's left and into May.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you in the
Everybody,
springtime.
Hi, guys. Thanks for coming tonight.
Bye-bye.
Bye.